1948, Andalusia, Spain. Less than 10 years had passed since the gruesome civil war between Franco's New Spain and the Republic. Summer had released its consoling grasp, and the dawn of autumn was nigh. It was in this tempest that a boy named Francisco was born to humble farm folk and was to be reared in the rough, with floors of dirt and abodes devoid of electricity and running water. Truly, he was a delight to the rural townsfolk, presenting as he did with a twinkle in his eye and a curl to his locks. But the boy was also single-mindedly willful and fancied himself a rabble-rouser, challenging the status quo, instigating fisticuffs, and exuding mischief of all sorts. Expelled to a monastery in an effort towards attitude rehabilitation, he collided with the obstinate monks and emerged wilier than before. He dismissed a bishop, nearly drowned a boy, and set a teacher's beard on fire. The boy's father took him aside, placed his hand upon his brow, and lo, he said unto him,
"Be a public servant and work the roads as I do. Truly, it holds no glamour, and you will be awarded only a meager wage, but it is good, honest work, and it is guaranteed without risk."
But Francisco said, "No, I will not enter such a profession, for I desire glamour and excitement, and I welcome risk as one welcomes the kiss of a young debutante." And so off he went, as a sailor, exploring far-off lands and exotic locales, as a pugilist, taking on all comers, as a racer of motorcycles, taking turns at breakneck speeds, and as a Marxist guerrilla, subverting the bourgeois ruling class and paving the way for a workers' revolution. But alas, these diversions all lost their allure over time, and Francisco became determined to make something of himself in the land of plenty, the land of opportunity, the land of America. And so he landed in Boston in the winter, and he said to himself, "My, it is cold here. Perhaps I have made a mistake." And so he left. But he returned soon afterwards with a new steely resolve and only a few modest dollars in his pocket. Eventually, the young man settled in his namesake of San Francisco, California, his new home, and he proceeded to make a living somehow, some way, with nothing but his wits to sustain him, baking bread, waiting tables, washing dishes, buying and selling used cars, and moving furniture. No job was too humbling. Eventually, he settled on an occupation he had fancied since his boyhood years, repairing automobiles. Alas, he demanded more and more from his many employers, seeing as he performed all of the work with the sweat from his brow, while the owners received the lion's share of the profits. Frustrated, he said to himself, "I will open my own automobile repair shop. Then I will be subservient to no man. I will reap what I sow, and I will control my destiny." But hark! The fates would intervene in the form of a hard-on-his-luck musician in desperate need of a place for his wandering minstrels to rehearse a range of loud and unruly musical numbers. The man prized the space to such an extent, he notified a friend who also began to rent time at the facility. Eventually, the idea of an automobile repair shop was abandoned, and the space was devoted entirely to music. Music performed at all hours of the day and night. More small spaces were eventually acquired and retrofitted with flume soundproofing, often comprised of sand transported from the ocean shore and shoveled in between walls. After scraping and clawing for startup capital, a building was finally purchased with the expressed intent of transforming it into a mecca for all aspiring musicians, a building that still stands to this day. The seasons ebbed and flowed, and Francisco made pilgrimages to Los Angeles, where he purchased 2 buildings in the Kingdom of Vernon, resurrecting the vacated industrial buildings from the ashes of the smoldering scrap heap. Plentiful real estate opportunities drew him to the Valley of the Sun, and then it was further east to Houston, Texas, back west to Tucson, and then, finally, north towards the cool, thin air of the Rocky Mountains in Denver. Since the beginning, over 500 rehearsal spaces have been carefully assembled, and the army of musicians continues to practice on, furiously honing their craft. Sometimes for fame, sometimes for fortune, sometimes for fraternity, but mostly for the love of music.